Hello and welcome to this episode of Talking Trim. I'm Jonathon Skinner and today we are looking at the rear deck and spare wheel kit as well as the boot trunk liner kit for the Austin Healey 104 models. So that's applicable to the BN1 and BN2, the two-seater cars. And what we've got here is the Armacord elements as per original specification for, like I say, the rear deck area, which is the areas behind the seats in the main cockpit cabin, which incorporated the spare wheel, which then went through the rear bulkhead into the boot trunk area of the car and created that sort of boot trunk compartment section there. All of these pieces have been done to OEM spec using the Armacord material. We can upgrade to carpet if you prefer, so either nylon, carvel or wool, but originally they did leave the factory in Armacord. Armacord being a PVC coated felt back material with ribs in it as such, like this here. So we have the original materials and lots of the original colours. So see our website for details. Obviously be sure to check out in the description below, I put some useful links in to pages on our website and other related videos on there. So these kits are sold as two separate kits. You've got the rear deck kit, which is everything currently in your screen frame at the moment there, and then the boot kit, which is everything currently on your screen. Well, not quite actually. There we are, everything on your screen now. So yeah, we sell them as two separate kits. We recommend you get them at the same time, as they do kind of cross and merge through that opening where the spare wheel goes in the boot there. This has obviously been done in dark blue Armacord, which is one of the original colours. For any of the vinyl elements, i.e. the spare wheel cover and the wheel arches, and even the petrol filler opening here, and even down to the binding, we've used what we refer to as Austin Healey blue, AH blue. Now we have two different shades of blue that we use commonly for the Austin Healey models. We have AH blue, which is this colour, and then we also have dark blue. They're both dark shades of blue, but Austin Healey blue is slightly lighter than dark blue, if that makes sense. And these are the sort of details that we go down to. We know that Healey almost certainly use different batches, different shades of blue. So depending on who you ask, both are original for the Healey range, hence we offer both and send samples so that you can make the final call on that. But even down to the binding leather cloth material, we have both versions, both shades, and that's the sort of level of detail that we go down to. So if you've done your interior trim panels in one of those shades, we'll also edge all of these pieces in the same colour so everything ties in. So like I say, just the extra level of details that we go to when making our kits. I should also note as well, we've included a third very small kit in this video because it kind of applies, and that's those little battery box hold down straps there, which are leather. They're always leather. Include the fixing on them. They were kind of common for the 104s and then also the BN6 and BN7 models there, although from what I read and our records, I think there were probably 3 different versions of those. They all shared the same purpose, more like inconsistencies on the original factory production line than different actual patterns for whatever reason, but we standardize it to that version there. Right, let's dive on in. So the rear deck kit, the bit in the cockpit cabin area, you effectively have the underseat part, so effectively rear floor pans. Obviously have the cutaways for the seat runners, etc. Then you had the kind of rear shelf lower bulkhead area, so it bent over like that, creating the rear shelf, has the cutaway there in the middle, obviously for the transmission tunnel. So to reference in a book, we're talking about this sort of section here. So that's the main piece we're talking about there, which obviously has the cutaway there for the rear tunnel. You can see obviously the rear floors of those sections there. Then sitting on top of this section here would be the battery box lid. So obviously the battery was stored in the rear deck area there, and this piece of Armacord here has vinyl strips sewn to it that then fold round and trim onto the metal lid panel there to create that opening lid. So that is this section here. So commonly people think obviously it's edge, but it's not edged in terms of level cloth like the other pieces. It is tucked round when it's trimmed round. Inside there you also have the battery floor cover there, which is just a rectangle to cut to shape to fit the car exactly, so you get that piece as well. Then you have obviously the spare wheel cover section. So this is a vinyl material, it's piped and sewn onto a piece of Armacord there. So that's where the spare tyre fits inside there, and that's the bit that kind of crosses over into the boot trunk area through the opening. And then you had effectively the rear bulkhead section here. So that's the bit on the vertical of the car that kind of went on the vertical and curved round and had the cutaway there for obviously where the spare wheel went on there, and it's got a vinyl bit sewn to it which gets trimmed round and glued onto the bodywork of the car. These sorry, just cover these first. These are the wheel arches. These go directly above the or rather next to the P-post quarter panels. You can't really see them too well in that photo unfortunately, but yeah, you get a pair of those. Obviously they'll tie in with your interior trim panels. Please refer to a video that I actually recorded yesterday which shows the interior trim panels for this exact kit, so just bear that in mind. There'll be a link in the description below. So that's the rear deck kit. As I mentioned, in collaboration with the rear deck kit, you should also look to get the battery box straps. The battery box straps effectively went sort of down there. Now that's not a very good photo, but I did find on the BN6, BN7 versions, very similar concept, although different finish on this bit here, so just bear that in mind. But that's effectively where they'd be sitting on the BN1 BN2 104s. That's a 100S, which is slightly different, but yeah, so you can see there, that's the rear bulkhead piece I was just referring to there, and obviously the spare wheel cover there. So that's the rear deck kit, and then the associated battery box hold down straps. Moving further back into the car now, and I'll go to the very back here, so you'd have the orientation as you saw it if you opened up your boot trunk. We've got what we refer to as the boot trunk kit. Again, Armacord as original. Now it should be noted that the very early BN1s had a different version of this kit. This is the latest style, the much more commonly seen version. The early style, the main mat was narrower, didn't sort of go all the way from left to right. In fact, I think this photo here does actually show that earlier version on there. But yeah, so this is the later version, a much more commonly seen version. For complete clarity, at this stage in proceedings, we don't actually have the patterns for the earlier version, which is extremely rare. Obviously, if you want the early version and you happen to have the originals, then by all means let us know. We can make it, so as long as we have the templates. So it's bear that in mind. But we've supplied this kit for 40 odd years without any issues on that, so really the later kit fits the exact same cars, and in theory it's an evolution, so it should fit better. That being said, it should be noted that boot trunk kits on all cars of this era weren't made to the same meticulous levels that a lot of the interior trim was, because it's a kind of out the way area, often had spare tyres and whatnot in it, so the kits don't always fit in the boot trunk as coherently, shall we say, as the rest of the car. Now we obviously template ours on originals, but then we obviously try to improve them where we can based on feedback over 4 decades of making them. So our kits do fit pretty well, probably the best in the industry in that regard, but just keep in mind that the boot kits almost looked, should we say in inverted commas, a little bit messy compared to some of the interior trim items. Anyway, let's dive on in. So the boot kit consists of all of these pieces here, starting at the very back of the car, so the immediate items that you would see as you opened up the boot trunk lid. You've got obviously the main boot mat, which is edged essentially all the way around. You have cutaways there obviously for the main petrol filler thing to come in it. It then has these elements here that are sewn in and around, which allow this to kind of tuck down into the recess of the wheel arches. Same again there, that sort of tuck down on itself to enter into the valance at the very back of the car. And there's a cutaway here for, I believe, there's a pipe there that comes in, as you can see there. So yeah, you can see here, you can see the tuck down there, which is this element here. So that's what all these sewing bits are for. That's why it protrudes up on end, because effectively when it's in the car, it would go down like that. You then had this piece here, which is out of sight in this picture. It's effectively down there. It's the kind of rear valance area, for lack of a better description. And then these sections here are the kind of dip down sections on the left and right side of the car. So they went down into the wheel wells of where the rear wheel arches were, and then it continued on up. You had the wheel arch side panels there, and then the front wheel arches going forward there. So the front wheel arches are these kind of sections here that went up on the vertical, and these bits here are much more down kind of this section here, if that makes sense. Then it becomes a bit more obvious as you've got effectively the front bulkhead there, so that sits up on end there. If I just refer to the book, let me just grab the book. So that's that section there, as you can see, again with vinyl tabs on it to trim around onto the bodywork. And then you had this kind of storage box, I guess, to the left of where the spare wheel cover came through. And these pieces here are for the storage box. So you have the different elements there for it. This piece here was sewn together so it would bend round effectively on itself like that, around, I believe, this walled area that separates the storage box from the spare wheel area. And then the spare wheel, literally the piece that's directly underneath that, is the piece that is part of the rear deck kit sewn to the spare wheel cover. Hence why we recommend you get those two kits together, because they merge into the same kit effectively at that point there. I think that's it. Just a quick note on edging and binding. We edge it using leather cloth, not vinyl. A lot of other companies out there take shortcuts and use vinyl. See our blog post in the description below onto why you should use leather cloth and not vinyl. It's the original material they used, but it's also a lot better. It's a lot more durable. It's not as bulky. It doesn't have any wrinkles in it. It's absolutely gorgeous stuff. Really nice. So we use leather cloth for all of our binding of carpets and flooring items. Also, we use it for piping of seats, which again is correct for purpose and fitment, etc. Yeah, I think that about covers it. Try to keep that as clear and concise as possible. I hope you found it useful. Like I say, please remember to read the description below, which will have lots of information perhaps not mentioned in this video, as well as links to other videos, and of course links to our handbook on our website, and of course where to buy the products on our website. Thanks for tuning in. Please remember to like, subscribe and share with other classic car enthusiasts out there. Of course, make any comments and feedback in the comment section below. And yeah, I look forward to you tuning in next time. Thanks very much.